Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm coming to you guys with my replay for Week 4 of the GOT. We are rematching versus Napey and the Brooklyn Banettes. His team is Victini, Thunderous, Mega Altaria, Mismagius, Mandibuzz, and Slowbro. On the bench, he left Ferrothorn and Gliscor. And then on our team, we have Nidoqueen, Kyurem Black, Thundurus T, Scolipede, Empoleon, and Mega Sableye. We left our Fortress and our Pyukumuku on the bench. So, we played them before, and in Week 2, only 2 weeks ago, and we were able to come out with a 1-0 victory. It was pretty fortunate. We had a Swords Dance Scolipede that was able to break through a Cotton Guard Altaria and ended up finishing up the game. We got some nice kills with our Kyurem Black using ICMZ, powering up that Freeze Shock, which is pretty cool. But he's got a pretty good matchup versus me. Well, I guess I'll say this. He's got a couple of mons that just wreck me. Victini, number 1, is a tremendous threat versus me because my only fire resist is Pyukumuku, and so I don't really deal with that thing well. Altaria is really scary. I have steel types to try and take it on, but Flamethrower or Fire Blast from that Altaria is going to break through something like Fortress really easily, and Empoleon, which I guess can take the combination of Hyper Voice plus Fire Blast, doesn't want to take Earthquake, and I can't really threaten that thing back in any case. I guess I could go for like Steel Wing, but I think that's like a 70 base power or whatever. Mismagius is pretty hard to deal with just because it's kind of fast and Ghost Resists are few and far between. And I'm surprised he didn't bring Ferrothorn just because I kind of have difficulty breaking through that. I don't think I could have really broken through that with this team that I brought. I guess my Sableye could have potentially whittled it down enough. But anyway, quick team recap. I do have an Assault Vest Nidoqueen. It's the same EV spread and item as last week versus Specs King. It's Assault Vest with enough HP and Spadef to live a Shattered Psyche. From full, it has like 3% HP left over on a max roll, which is pretty nice. I'm having another physical set. It's Poison Jab, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, and Crunch. I kind of wish I'd brought Sucker Punch, just because that would have been much more useful versus Mismagius, Victini, and just for getting enough chip damage on things. But we'll go into that later. I have the exact same Kyurem set that I brought last time. It's Adamant. Well, not Adamant. It's a Lonely nature. What I mean is it's an attack boosting nature with ICMZ. So it's got Freeze Shock, Dragon Claw, Fusion Bolt, and Ice Beam. This thing really puts a hurt on his team, except for maybe Slowbro. But we still 2 at KO after rocks, which is nice. I've got Scarf Thunderous T again, Volt Switch, Dark Pulse, Sludge Wave, and Hidden Power Ice. I wanted something to revenge +1 Altaria. I wanted something to outspeed Scarf Victini. It can put a little bit of damage onto the Thunderous if it's at +2 special attack, which is nice. I've got a Life Orb Scolipede. It's very similar to what I brought before, but instead of bringing Swords Dance with Silver Powder, I brought just Baton Pass with Life Orb. So I don't need a boost necessarily to put a hurt on his team. Excuse me. We just need to get prior damage on certain things. Like Mismagius, if we can get it to probably 50% or like 45%, we can take it on. Thunderous, I think it needs like 10% damage after rocks. Victini needs like 10% damage after rocks. And probably need to get the Mandibuzz at like 40% or lower. And then we should pretty much win with that, should the need arise. I have a Focus Sash Empoleon. I'm going to try and lead with this thing and go for Stealth Rocks. I do also have Waterfall, Aqua Jet, and Knockoff. I've got those moves in case he decides to leave Victini. If he leaves Victini, I'll probably try and go forgo Rocks and just get damage on that thing. I'm also rocking Defiant on this Empoleon just to try and mess with a potential Mandibuzz that has Defog. I can't really do any damage to it. Last week I tried to bring a Natural Gift Empoleon, but it's actually incompatible with Defiant, I learned, so that's pretty sad. But anyway, I might throw him off and we might be able to have some fun with that. And then last but not least, I have a Adamant Mega Sableye, which is really cool. I have enough speed on this thing for Slowbro, and I've got Sucker Punch, Knockoff, Ice Punch, and Recover. This thing doesn't have a great matchup, but I wanted to bring it just in case he decided to bring Ferrothorn, because last time he didn't bring a Stealth Rock Setter, or at least he didn't click it versus me, and I didn't bring any hazard removal. But I was thinking, well, maybe he would bring it this time, because he noticed I didn't bring any hazard removal and I didn't bring Sableye. So I wanted to deter the hazards if possible. Sableye is just tricky because it lures in Victini and Altaria both. So that's why I wanted to make this thing offensive with Ice Punch and Knock Off and Sucker Punch, because if he wants to go into Altaria hard on my Sableye, if it's not Mega Evolved, we should OHKO. I think we OHKO a max HP set with our Ice Punch, and then we can do nice damage to Victini upon switch in. I put enough attack investment on this thing to OHKO a non-invested Victini with Knock Off, so we'll just kind of have to play a prediction game when the time comes. And then Sucker Punch is obviously great for that Victini and also for Miss Magius, however you call it. But anyway, my lead is going to be Empoleon because I really want rocks. Until he leads off with his Miss Magius. He could go for Taunt or something like that, but what other play do I have besides to try and stay in here and go for Stealth Rock? And I am going to get off an Aqua Jet, so I get off 36% chip, which is not bad. And he goes into the, he goes in and takes me out, and I go into my Sableye. So going into Sableye is probably not the best play, and here's why. So I was talking about how Sableye lures in the Victini and the Altaria. Well, the other thing that it really lures in on his team is the Mandibuzz. So I guess my obvious play here is to go for Knockoff, because it could OHKO this Miss Magius. And so he's not going to go to Victini. He could go into Altaria, but, he doesn't necessarily have to. But he go pretty easily into Mandibuzz because I don't really threaten that thing, and he can get off a Defog. And getting off a Defog will be really bad for my game plan because I need the chip on everything on his team. So I should have gone into probably just like Thundurus or Kyurem. Kyurem might have been the best play because I can probably OHKO this thing with Dragon Claw. And unless he's packing Will-O-Wisp, that'd be pretty nice. And, he doesn't have a Dragon Resist on his team. I'm going to OHKO Altaria before it Mega Evolves. I'm going to get off 35% on his Slowbro. Depending upon the roll, I might put it in range of a Fusion Bolt after that Dragon Claw, which is quite nice. And so on and so forth. So I don't think this is the right play, and, I'm just pointing that out. So he's going to make the switch into his Mandibuzz. And I'm going to go for an Ice Punch, expecting that Altaria. But it actually does a decent chunk. And he shows the weak armor. And I was like, oh, well, weak armor is kind of weird. I guess I don't have anything with Spore or whatever on my team, so there's no point running Overcoat. I guess you might as well run weak armor. I didn't really think about the fact that this might be offensive. I'm more just still worried about the Defog. And so at this point, there's nothing that I can do to prevent that, but I'm thinking to myself, well, at least I can punish it by trying to knock off its leftovers. So I do go for knock off as he goes for Roost. That was another thing I thought he might do, and so there was not a reason to click Ice Punch because Ice Punch wasn't going to be super effective at that point versus the Mandibuzz. But that was things at +3, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with this thing. It can basically Roost stall on me. So in case he goes for Roost, I think I'm just going to go into Thundurus, and I can get off a Lightning attack next turn. Wait, it's not called either Thunder or Lightning, it's called Electric. So anyway, thanks for bearing with me. So I'm going to go into Thundurus, and he's actually going to go for the Dark Pulse, and it does a pretty decent chunk of damage. So if it wasn't obvious to me by now, I'm starting to think, okay, this is an offensive Mandibuzz. Which, as weird as it sounds, it actually makes sense versus my team. I don't have a Dark Resist, so it's not at all a bad set, and I'm quite impressed that he decided to bring this. But anyway, now I've got my Thundurus in here. I'm like, okay, well, at least I'll kill it with Volt Switch. If I click that here, and he goes for the Dark Pulse and gets a flinch. So that really sucks. So I brought my Thundurus and allowed it to take 71% HP, or 71% damage for pretty much no reason. My Sableye could have killed this thing if I just stayed in and clicked Ice Punch and taken that Dark Pulse. So that was a really unfortunate play on my part. And we'll see later in the game that this prior damage, especially the flinch, really put me into a tough spot. So I'm not going to let my Thundy go down. I'm going to go back into Sableye, and he's actually going to set up a sub, which is pretty cool on his part, and he's going to show the Nasty Plot as you guys see here. So yeah, sub Nasty Plot, really hard to deal with. I need to break this sub, and then I need to not get flinched by the Dark Pulse, and then I can pretty much take this thing out. So I do go for the Ice Punch, and he's going to click that Dark Pulse, and we're going to see if we get flinched or not. Luckily we don't, and we survive, and we're able to take out that Meta Buzz. So that thing did put in quite a dent on my team. It virtually killed my Thundurus, and it took a big chunk of health out of my Sableye. So I'm expecting him to go Altaria here, and he kind of goes into the tank and tries to think about what he wants to do here. And he goes into Mismagius, and I'm thinking, okay, let me just click Sucker Punch. And yeah, I'm able to take that thing out, which is awesome. Yeah, he could have gone for Destiny Bond or something like that, but like if he was trying to revenge Sableye, like he would have just gone into Altaria. Maybe he was trying to preserve this thing for something. But in any case, we're able to snipe that thing. I don't think he was expecting the Sucker Punch whatsoever, and so we take those. Then he goes into his Altaria, and this is tricky. I don't want him to set up, but now that he has the opportunity to Mega Evolve, my Ice Punch is not going to do as much damage. It did like 75% min. Actually, it probably did a little bit more than 75%. It probably did like 80% before it Mega Evolved, and now it's probably going to do like 35% to this Altaria. So I can't kill it. I'm weary of letting it set up for free. I don't want it to go for Dragon Dances or Agilities, but the fact that I can't even do 50% to this thing means that he can roost stall me for days if he chooses to set up. So it's not good to stay in here, even if it gives him the opportunity to set up. So I am going to go hard into my Nidoqueen and try and threaten this thing. He is going to Mega Evolve, and he is going to go for the Hyper Voice. So he reveals that he's special. Makes a lot of sense, again, given the fact that I have Sableye, I could potentially burn that thing, and it would have been pretty bad for him. But if he's a special set, there's no way that I can really threaten him. And he goes for the Hyper Voice, does 16%. It's hard to tell if he's invested or not. I don't think he's uninvested. He has to have some investment in order to do that much damage, but it doesn't have to be a lot for it to do that little. But anyway, that 16% is actually really critical because it puts me potentially in range of Shattered Psyche from Thundurus. It now is a roll to kill. So just keep that in mind. It's like a 50-50 roll. And he's going to switch on out of there. I've got an opportunity to get off a Poison Jab pretty much for free. And he goes into a Slowbro. Now this is definitely treacherous because I don't have anything that wants to get to take a Scald on my team. Thundurus dies, Kyurem, I can't risk getting burned, Scolipede, I can't risk getting burned, Nidoqueen, I need the HP, and Sableye is pretty much the odd man out, but again, it lures in the Altaria, and there's not much I can do to it. So, I do go into that Sableye, he's going to go for Scald, we'll see if we get burned, and we do indeed, so that sucks. But this is kind of a blessing in disguise, if you ask me. So I'm at 15% right now. I'm going to go down to like 9% or 8% with the burn damage on the next turn when he brings in the Altaria. And then if he wants to go for a Dragon Dance, well, he probably doesn't have Dragon Dance. He has Hyper Voice, so he can go for like an Agility, or if he wants, on the next turn. But then I will go down to the burn, and I can go into my Nidoqueen and threaten that thing. So the fact that the burn puts me kind of on a timer actually works to my benefit, I would say. So anyway, he does switch out of his Slowbro here. I could have doubled, expecting this. I could have doubled into Kyurem or Nidoqueen or something. Kyurem might have been a nice play because he had a decent opportunity to slack off as well. So I don't know. I could have done a number of things, but I just kind of made the dumb play, obvious play, and clicked knock off. In case he wanted to stay in with Slowbro and I wanted to knock off its item. Knocking off its item actually would have been quite nice, but what are you going to do? So I go to Scolipede. With the amount of damage that this Altaria has, it's an easy KO range of Poison Jab. So I am going to take that thing out. And even though Scolipede can potentially win in the late game, I haven't gotten any prior damage on Victini or Thundurus yet. So what I'm going to do versus Victini is just click Poison Jab. And we do get a Poison, which is nice. But the reason we go for Poison Jab instead of Aqua Tail is that Aqua Tail only does like 60% max versus the Victini, and so we had no chance to kill it. With Poison Jab, we're guaranteed to get damage off. We have a decent shot, like probably a 50-50 shot to kill it with a crit. So if we get a crit, that's great, but all I want is a little damage on this thing so that I can revenge it with Thunderous. That's all I need. So we are going to have to sack our Scolipede in order to get this damage off, but I think that's a trade worth taking, considering the Victini got 3 kills versus my team last time. So it went for V-Create, and it's dead upon re-entry to Rocks after that poison damage, so we can easily go for Volt Switch here. That's no problemo. I am now going to pivot into my Kyurem, and this is going to invite in the Slowbro. I think he would have gone Slowbro whether I brought in Nidoqueen or I brought in Kyurem. I don't know if one play was correct over the other. Kyurem can at least 2-hit KO Slowbro, whereas Nidoqueen cannot. And Nidoqueen, you know, I've got a chance to tank the Shattered Psyche. Kyurem probably can from full, and then it can KO back with Ice Beam. So maybe what I could have done was gone into Nidoqueen, just tried to get this thing low with Crunch, and then gone into Thundy, and killed this thing with a Volt Switch, and then have my Kyurem available to deal with the Thundy. That could have been a thing. That could have been like a course of action, but instead I went into Kyurem, and we are going to click Fusion Bolt versus a Slowbro. He's going to reveal to be Wakan Berry, which is a nice tech, and he goes for a Toxic, which doesn't bother me at all. Like, there's no way he's going to be able to stall me out and get me to the point where Toxic really does any meaningful damage. I guess, you know, if he can stall me out and put me in range of a Shattered Psyche from Thundurus, that would be good. But then my Nidoqueen can kill the Thundurus. So no problem to me. I now go for the Fusion Bolt. I get probably what's a min roll, which is whatever. That's Pokemon. I had maybe only like a 30% chance to kill, so it's not like it was in my favor or anything. And he goes for Counter, so that's a really awesome tech. I like that quite a lot. But anyway, I can go to Thundurus and now easily kill this thing. And now we are going to go into our Nidoqueen. And this is where I want to talk for a minute. This has already been a pretty long video, so I'll try and not talk for too long. But so this Thundurus, after the Rocks, as you're going to see, is going to be at 76%. If I had Sucker Punch here, I could go for it and put this thing in range of a Hidden Power Ice for my Thundurus. I don't have Sucker Punch, so I don't get the opportunity to do that. So what I have to hope for is that I live this Shattered Psyche. I'm almost 100% positive that he has Shattered Psyche because it's what he brought versus me last time, and it's like the only way he can beat my team. Especially if he's Double Dance like he brought last time. He's brought Double Dance actually like 3 times in this tournament. So it's a 50-50 roll to live the Shattered Psyche. We kill this thing guaranteed with Ice Punch. If we don't, we go into Thundy and we click a move and kill it. So it all comes down to whether we can live this Z move. Does reveal the Z move, goes for the Shattered Psyche, and we do not live. So that's really unfortunate. So now we go into our Thundy, and this is where the early crit, sorry, not the early crit, the early flinch with the Mandibuzz really matters, because we would have 35% extra HP. We're at 29% HP right now. That puts us at 54. The Psychic from this thing does a maximum of 45%. That means we 2-hit KO this thing, we 2-hit KO this thing with the Hidden Power Ice, and that would be a good game. Now our only chance is to try and click Dark Pulse and get a flinch versus this thing. So we go for the Dark Pulse, try and get the flinch, and no dice. We do not take it out. So we're going to lose very narrowly 1-0 here. It really, you know, there were lots of things that didn't go my way this battle, but what it really comes down to is I just didn't play well with the Thundurus, you know, playing around that Mandibuzz. If I didn't take that unnecessary damage, I could have preserved my Thundurus, and it would have plenty of HP for this situation. Would not have been a big deal at all. I could have potentially prepped better if I had put Sucker Punch onto the Nidoqueen. I don't think I would have been in this situation either, because I would have gotten 28% minimum off on this Thundurus and put it into guaranteed range of HP Ice from the Thundurus. I could have also run Pyapa Berry on it, and I very nearly did because I knew he was going to bring Shattered Psyche, but I thought Assault Vest was better because then it allowed me to deal with Altaria. I don't really have a check for Altaria on this team otherwise. What else? Like Sableye, you know, maybe it wasn't the best thing to bring, but I think it did work. I got 2 kills. You know, so I'm not upset about that. Kyurem, I don't think I could have really improved on. So yeah, it just really is the execution. I just didn't play the best. And yeah, you combine that with some unlucky rolls and a very unfortunate flinch, and that's a recipe for a loss right there. So we are going to be dropping to 2-2 in our pool, and we still have a +2 differential, which is pretty good. At the time that I'm recording this, I don't think the other competitors have played. So Napey is 3-1 and virtually guaranteed to advance. Actually, I think he's guaranteed to advance. Specs King and Volume are playing, I guess, later this week, and we play Volume next week. So I think if we win next week, no matter what we're in, if there's a situation where Volume loses and Specs King wins, then we can get to a potential 3-way tie next week. So Volume beats me and Specs King loses to Napey. Volume, Specs King, and me will all have a 2-3 record. And in that situation, I don't know what the tiebreaker is. I don't know if it's differential or if it's head-to-head. But if it's depending upon, so if Volume loses, he currently has a -4 differential. So if he loses, he would at least have a -5 differential. That means if we lose to him by 3-0 or less, then we would have a better record than him. And we could potentially move on, assuming that the tiebreaker is differential and not record, because it's head-to-head. Because if it's head-to-head, Specs King technically has the victory over both me and Volume in that scenario. Of course, the easiest way to deal with this whole situation is just to go ahead and beat Volume next week, but that's a tall order because Volume has probably the best matchup versus me of all the teams in my pool, because for many reasons. I won't say them explicitly in case it's not already obvious to him. So we really got to pull out all the stops next week, make sure we can come down with a victory. And if we do that, we will be advancing to the round of 64, and we start the March Madness style bracket. It's going to be single elimination, and you play 6 games on your way to a championship. So that'd be a pretty tall order. After, assuming that we can get past the tall order of beating Volume next week. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you check back next week to the final round of the pool play for GOT. And make sure you check back the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later.